And he's got some really cool stuff. He's going to show you some stuff about his business and talk about his story. And so please welcome Harlow Russell.
Okay, thanks, Martin. Hi, everyone. So my name is Harlow Russell, and I live in South Austin. And my story is kind of like this. I just came back to the United States last year. I've been living in Asia for 25 years. Asia. I lived in Indonesia for 8 years. Yeah.
Asian chick's pretty good.
Side conversation. But my first wife was from Indonesia, and my second wife is from Singapore. So perhaps the answer is yes. So I lived in Indonesia for 8 years. I lived in Singapore for 14 years. And the last 4 years I lived in Vietnam. Now, how many of you have heard of all three countries? Indonesia, Singapore, and Vietnam. Wow, great, excellent. Okay, so that's where I've lived and I've worked. And I came back last year to Austin, United States, basically to take care of my mom, who wasn't very well. And it was time for me to come home to Austin and take care of her. And that's why I'm back. But my business, I've done a lot of things, just like you guys will do a lot of things over your career. So when I came back to Austin to take care of my mom, I kind of put everything that I was doing, my work, my business, kind of closed it up in Vietnam, and I came back here and I spent a lot of time working on my mom. And then what should I do next? So one of the things about competition is, can you find something that you like to do that nobody else is doing? And if you find something like that, that might be really cool. So let me show you something. I'm going to change hats here. I'm going to put on a typical Vietnamese hat. This is a typical Vietnamese hat, okay, that both farmers and regular people wear in Vietnam. It's very hot, and it really protects you from the sun. All right, so that's my Vietnamese hat. We're now in Vietnam. So if you went to Vietnam, does anyone know the capital of Vietnam? Anyone have a guess? Got an idea? Heard of any cities in Vietnam? Okay, well, the capital of Vietnam is a city called Hanoi. Anyone hear of Hanoi? That name? How about Saigon?
Oh, I've heard of that.
Saigon, okay. Saigon's actually the biggest city in Vietnam. It's also called Ho Chi Minh City. So they had a name change. So I lived in Ho Chi Minh City, which is a big city. Okay, so some of you live in Kyle, all right? Some of you live in Austin. How many people does Austin have? Do you know, roughly?
A lot.
How much is a lot?
Just too much.
Oh, too much, okay, I agree. But Austin has about 2 million people, I think. 2 million people in Austin. And how many people are in Kyle? I don't know, 50,000, 100,000? Kyle's pretty small, right? Okay, Austin's much bigger. So Austin's about 2 million people. Ho Chi Minh City is about 20 million people. So it's about 10 times the size of Austin in terms of people. Really, really big. It's like New York City, double, double, double. Now, if you were on the, how many of you have heard of 6th Street in Austin? 6th Street, okay, very popular. Lots of places to eat and lots of music and lots of tourists come there. So if you were a tourist in Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi, you might see things like this. So this is very, very common Vietnamese thing that's made. What do you think these are?
Restaurants?
Cards. What kind of cards are they? Sorry?
For restaurants?
Yeah.
Pop-up cards.
Ah, correct. What's your name again?
Angel.
Angel. Angel's correct. Pop-up cards. So they kind of look like, why don't you open one up? And why don't you open one up? So this is a typical Vietnamese pop-up card. And you may have seen pop-up cards before. They're cool. And they have different colors. And you can touch them and feel them. Yeah? So pass them around. So this is a typical Vietnamese card. And they're for tourists and they're for people to give to friends. And they're pretty cool, right? Okay, and they fold, right? And this is a real skill. This is what the Vietnamese know how to do really, really well, is these kind of cards. Okay, so I like these cards, but you also see these are Vietnamese people, right? They're not necessarily anything that we relate to, but I liked them. And when I came back to the U.S., I would give my mom cards, I'd give my friends cards. It's really a fun thing from Vietnam that they know how to do there. Okay, so fast forward a little bit. I saw this card. One of my last trips to Vietnam. I saw this card. What do you think this one might be?
The Eiffel Tower.
The Eiffel Tower, right.
Can you hand this one to him? He
Yep.
hasn't got one yet.
Open it up. Okay, so this one I thought was really cool. It's kind of more 3D.
It's like this big.
Okay, so, and I thought, wow, that's pretty neat. Hi there. So this card is really important in the story of my business and what I do now to make money and have fun. This card. Because I saw that and I said, that's pretty neat. And that's the Eiffel Tower and the map of France. And that's been made for tourists who come from France and they want something to remind them of their home country. So keep that in mind, pass it around. And now we fast forward to Austin, Texas, January 2018. So about 18 months ago, and I arrive to take care of my mom. And I needed to get some medical insurance, okay, so that if I have an accident or something, that I'll be able to go to the hospital and get paid for it, right? So I got an insurance policy, and the agent, do you guys know what an insurance agent is that sells insurance policies? Person that sells insurance. They gave me this as a thank you. They gave me this card. This card is supposed to say, wow, we really appreciate your business. We appreciate that you're spending a lot of money with us. And I opened it up, and she wrote some things, like you might write a birthday card or a thank you card, right? But I looked at this, and I said, go ahead, take it. I said, wow, that's not very interesting. That's not very nice. I wish that she had given me something that was more special than that. And then I thought about, where's the Eiffel Tower? There. I thought about the Eiffel Tower, and I thought about that. And I went, maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe there's a business. Maybe there's something I can do so that when somebody gives a business card, a thank you, it's much more meaningful. It means a lot more. And that's how my business got started. And I started out creating 3 cards. So this is how my business started here in Austin. I decided to try to figure out what would be cool and fun and meaningful in Austin, Texas. Okay? And what's your name?
Madison.
Madison, where do you live? Maynard. And what's your name?
Harlow.
Okay, where do you live?
Harlow.
Okay, so Austin, city of Austin. So that's not a pop-up card. That's really plain, yeah? That's really like, okay, wow. Did that cost like maybe $1? Maybe. It's very kind of, yeah. All right, so for Austin, Texas, I created 3 concept cards for my business. Here they are. This is how my business started. What do you think What do you think this one might be? State Capitol, downtown. Have you been there? How many of you have been to the State Capitol? Right? Pretty big building, old building, pretty cool. So I created this. So, greetings from Austin, Texas. Open and say, awesome. So that is a 3D pop-up card, but something that's very much local. You can pass it around, you can touch it, you won't break it, don't worry. All right, and what do you think this one is? Do you know who this is? Anybody know who this represents? Yes, you're right. Austin's known for music, right? The live capital music of the world. Do you know who this guy is? There's a couple of musicians that are like Austin's known for. This guy, sorry, yeah, you're on the right track.
Wait, that's oh my God, how am I forgetting his name? That's Will.
Okay, so there's Willie Nelson.
Is that my boy Sam?
There's Willie Nelson, and that's not him. This is the other guy that there's a statue of downtown. He's no longer alive. He sadly passed away, but there's a big statue of him because he was so famous and so good a musician. His middle name is Ray.
Oh, Billy. No, not Billy.
Not Billy. You're going on the right track. Begins with an S.
Yeah.
Stevie.
Ray Vaughan.
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
I can open.
Oh, you got it? This is the statue of Stevie Ray Vaughan, who's one of Austin's, famous musicians. What do you think's inside this card? You may be right. Musical greetings from Austin.
I can open it. Oh, it's this. Oh, yeah, it's.
Open and say awesome. Okay. So we have the Capitol, we have the bat, and we have the guitar. Now, Austin is famous for the bats underneath the bridge, right? How many of you have seen the bats come out, right? At 4 or 5 o'clock, 5, 6 o'clock, you're on the Congress Avenue Bridge, and all these bats, Mexican long-tailed bats, come out. Yeah? So, how many have seen that before? Okay, so you've seen that, when they come out. So, bat greetings from Austin. So, there's the bridge with 50 people on it looking at the bats.
I remember we went on a boat and went to go under.
Uh-huh.
And then a whole bunch of bats would come out.
Right, exactly. There's about 2 million bats that live underneath the bridge. It's really amazing. So what you see is both high-tech and low-tech. So everything's cut from lasers, the paper, but the models in the middle, the Capitol, the guitar, the bat bridge, is all put together by hand in Vietnam for me, for people here in Austin. And you're right, it's pretty sturdy, Angel. You can touch it, and it's held together, right, if you look very carefully, with very tiny wires that hold it into the card. So this started my business, and there is no competition for this. So I found something that nobody else is doing, and this makes probably a much nicer card to remember somebody by than this. So the idea in terms of my business is, instead of doing something like this, thank you, how about something like that? Isn't that cool? Wouldn't you like to get that? So that's basically my business, and what it's turned into, I'm going to show you some things. See if you can guess what the models might be. Okay, so this card is for a big Ford dealership. What do you think might be inside this card? A truck. You are spot on. America's most popular car is an F-150 truck. And all that paper folds.
No, it's not.
Well, it's supposed to be an F-150. It needs a little bit of work, maybe. That's a concept. That was the first pass, but yeah. So that's a truck. Very good. Let's see. How many of you do you know what this symbol is?
Wait. That's Singapore. No.
Nope, you're right. It kind of looks like Singapore. But this is a stylized symbol of a racetrack. Racetrack. Where do we have a big racetrack in Austin? Do you know?
No. Oh, they have like that motorcycle racing.
You're right. Hold that thought on the motorcycles. So this is the Circuit of the Americas in Southeast Austin, and they race F1. F1 cars there. What do you think's inside this card?
Motorcycle.
Hold that thought. What do you think's inside this card? What do you think inside this car?
I don't know. People.
If it's for the F1
A car.
racing car, F1s are racing cars. What do you think inside the car? Yeah, open it.
It's a car.
It's an F1 race car.
Why y'all keep calling it F1 race car?
That's the type. So there's different types of race cars. The biggest, the fastest, the loudest is called Formula One.
Yes. Why do y'all not call it Formula 1?
Yeah, you could call it Formula One. Just easier to say F1. But Formula One, you're right, Angel. That's what that car is. Now, who said they also race motorcycles out there?
No, wait, that was me, sir.
Right. And what's your name?
Twig.
Twig.
His name isn't Twig.
What's your name? Your real name?
Colton.
Colton.
Yeah,
Colton, open and say awesome.
Nah, bro, you have a Twig. That's what
Awesome.
So that's a Grand Prix motorcycle. So you start to get the idea of what I do. How about something like this? So what am I drinking here? Coffee. All right. So what's your name again? Marissa. What do you think's inside here?
Coffee.
Oh, you might be right. Open that up.
You have to say awesome.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Let's have some more fun. What do you think this one might be?
A bear. A teddy bear.
Open and say awesome.
Awesome.
What do you think this one might be?
A baby.
Right.
Because I'm so right.
Frankie?
Like always.
Open and say awesome. Okay. What do you think? What do you think this one might be?
Can I see, sir? Can I see? That's Christmas tree.
Close. You're all close.
Then this church bell.
Open and say awesome.
Awesome. Bro, I ain't saying awesome.
Okay. What do you, now this is a tough one. This is a tough one to guess. But let's see. What do you think that one might be?
Flower.
Flowers, okay. It's a little bit tough to guess. But this one is a little bit different. Angel, open that up and say awesome. It's two people in a swing in a tree.
Legit.
All right, now this one's kind of, who said flowers over here? Okay.
Me, sir.
Open and say awesome.
Awesome.
All right. This one's a little bit different than a panda. Well, actually, it is a panda bear. What do you think that might be?
Red bear. What is it? Red panda? It's a bear.
Yeah, panda bear. Okay. Right. How many of you know, okay, when you think of the country of India, what do you think of? Do you know what's the symbol for India, the country of India?
Chinese food.
No. Well, you're on the right track, Colton, dancing. But there's a very famous building in India you may have heard of. It's called it's two syllables. Begins with T. It's a very famous building in India.
TP.
Taj.
Taj Mahal.
Oh, Taj Mahal.
I said it.
That is the Taj Mahal. All right. So here's one for this company. This company, what they do is clothes, but you wouldn't know by their logo. But I'm going to give you a clue. If you go to a rock concert, if you go to ACL, if you go hear some band out, big band like the Rolling Stones or the Beatles, or give me a band that you like, music band that you like.
In Austin?
Yeah,
Big one.
a big one, a famous band that you like. Metallica, okay? If you went to hear Metallica at a concert, a stage, right? There might be some big things that you'll see. Frankie, open and say awesome. Some big concert speakers. Yeah, this says TGL. This is a tough one. So those are big concert speakers. Twig. Okay, excuse me. How about this one? Let's do some. If you go, have any of you been to the campus of UT Austin?
Yes.
Okay, all right. When you go to UT, have you been to a football game?
Yes.
You have. Well, when you go to a football game, where do you go?
To the stadium. Here.
Open and say awesome. That's the UT football stadium.
Let me see.
Have you been to the UT campus ever? Okay. What's the big building that's very famous at UT?
The building.
Yeah. There you go. There's the UT Tower. So let me show you a couple more and then I'll take some questions. Now, here's one. My birthday is actually in 2 weeks. My birthday's in 2 weeks. This is the logo of my company. So my birthday's in 2 weeks, and I wanted some cool birthday cards to give to friends.
Present.
So what do you think maybe is in here?
A book.
It better be you.
Okay.
Me? That would be good. A cake is a good idea. My head. Close. Okay. What do you think might be in here?
Your leg.
You're giving this card to other people
Yeah.
for your birthday?
Yeah, to celebrate my birthday. Hey, it's my birthday.
An invitation. Invitation.
A what?
Present?
Oh, open and say awesome.
Don't say awesome.
It has to.
Awesome.
Basically, what you want to do is you want to say, whenever it's your birthday and not theirs, and you want to send them something,
Uh-huh.
you give them that, but inside it has to say, "Ha, it's my birthday, not yours."
Yeah.
And then you have to say you're not invited.
Well, everybody's invited. I'll show you one more and then, sorry, yes, I'm turning 58. Awesome 58. So that's my own birthday card to myself to give to friends. One more. What do you think might be in here?
A light bulb.
What do you think? Angel, do you agree?
A lamp. Or a lighthouse.
Actually, you're spot on. Open and say awesome. To brighten up the day or light up new ideas. So that's what I do. I create cards that are awesome and special so that people can really remember them and save them. So I have some more, but you get the idea. And I'd be happy to take some of your questions if you'd like to ask me some questions about doing a business like this, right? Or anything at all.
Did you make these handmade?
So, good question. Excellent question. So what you see is kind of cool because it's made, the paper is laser cut out of machines, but then they have all these different colors of paper and they're cut different way, and it's made by hand in Vietnam. So the models that you see like the tower, this is put together by hand, by folks in Vietnam. This is not put together by machine. And if you start to look at the models,
How do they know what it looks like?
yeah, how do they know? How do they do that? That's the magic. That's the skill. So they really have a skill to do this kind of work. Yeah. And if you look at the models carefully, you'll see they're kind of put together like if you built a house without nails. They have to fit together. The paper has to fit together. Yeah, so
Try to build a house out of like no. How you try to build a house out of note cards sometimes?
yeah, well, they say there's some kind of houses that they don't use any nails. All the wood fits together. That's exactly how these are done. So everything's got to fit together by hand. See that? Isn't that pretty? Yeah.
How do you get this? How do you do the designs on the board? Who does the design for you whenever you?
So
What's the process for that?
we just start setting this up. So basically, what happens is somebody's got an idea, right? So maybe a person that has a company or business, they have an idea, they want to do something. So usually what it starts with is an idea and a picture. So a photo of whatever it is. So in this case, this was a design for a new building in San Antonio, Frostbank new headquarters. It actually doesn't, they just built it, so it starts out with a picture. Ah, did you say the owl? You're close. What you're thinking of is that one.
That one, yeah.
This is the owl building downtown. So this exists, so we start out with pictures and we send it to Vietnam because the magic's in Vietnam. The magic's not me. I would not know how to go from a picture to that, but they do, and they start playing with paper. They start playing with paper and they got to know how to make the paper work because it's all about right angles.
So you didn't make that?
I didn't make it. I can't make this. I don't know how to make this work.
Wait, did you make any of these?
Some of these are my designs, some of these are my ideas, but I don't make them. I can't make them. I don't have the skill. So the skill is in Vietnam, but the customer is here. I'm going to set some of these up, and they're really cool when you start seeing them together. Here's another one that's fun. This is a knife, kitchen knife, chef knife.
I want it.
So they work on it, and it goes back and forth. Excuse me. Goes back and forth until we get it right. Oops, got one tied up. All right, so that's how it works.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah. All right, any other questions? Some other questions? Those are good questions.
Why'd you make a panda when we don't have pandas in the U.S.?
That's a very good question. So some of the designs you see are Asian designs. Very popular, pandas are very popular in Asia. So some of these cards, but some people, they like a panda, even though they're maybe not a panda in Austin, but they like that.
Forget the turtles.
Yeah. But basically my business, because you're here to learn about business, my business is to do designs that are more American. Like this, they don't have in Vietnam, nor would they be interested in this, but we have this here in Austin. Lots of people like this card because it's something local. So when you're looking at competition, which is the topic of today, then you got to find out what works, what do people want where you are, whether in Austin or Texas or the United States. Yeah. Here's another fun one. So this is not just for American things, but this company, they wanted Chinese characters.
Chinese words.
Because what they're all about, they use a couple of Chinese symbols to message about what they do. So this is actually 4 Chinese characters put into one.
On the bottom.
Now, this one, this company is run by veterans. Are any of you guys veterans? Okay. So that served in the military. All right. And they help veterans find jobs. So the founder of this company, he was a Navy SEAL, and his specialty was he was a sniper. What's a sniper?
You just get a gun and you have a sniper and it has a scope and you go.
Right. So you're very skilled with a certain kind of gun. So what he wanted was the kind of tool that he used that was very important in his work. Now, that is a pretty accurate representation of what he used. And I have some things for you. Yeah.
So, how much what does it cost you to get a design done? What does it cost you to get a unit? What is it?
All good points. So basically, the reason that this is done in Vietnam, as you might expect in a third world country, is because the cost of labor is much, much lower, as well as the skill. So these are sold wholesale. I don't do retail. I sell to companies and businesses, and there's a certain price point, and obviously there's a margin.
How much is this?
So what you're looking at, just to give you an idea, because this is a business and you're learning about business, I only sell to businesses, so you can't go to a store and buy these. If you did go to a store, they might cost $11 or $12 each. But for business, they basically run $5, $6. And of course, what they actually cost is much less, but then we have lots of shipping and lots of other expenses. Yeah, sure. Hi. 200 cards. Yeah. One more I'm going to show you that's really cool. It's brand new. What do you think this one's going to be? Absolutely.
Statue of Liberty. You can see it fell out.
Yeah, this one kind of we have to work on, but why don't you open that up? So there's the Statue of Liberty. Kind of fun. Did any of you go to St. Ed's by any chance? Are you guys St. Ed's guys? Okay. Well, do you know at St. Ed's University, the other university in town, they have a really old building on the hilltop. It's called the Hilltop.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
There it is.
Oh, I've been there.
You've been there, okay.
Can I have this?
That one, no, but I do have some cards for you if you'd like.
Yes.
Yeah, would you like some cards?
Yes.
Okay, but we'll do that in a moment. What other questions? Do you have any other questions?
That's rude.
Oh, here's 2 more fun ones. It just keeps going.
Piano, you have a piano? Give me that.
So, what do you think might be in here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you open that one? So, musical greetings from Austin.
Yay!
At concert piano. Yeah.
It's Texas.
Right, this one, UT, besides the stadium,
University.
besides the tower, what? Yeah, but what else? What else is UT famous for?
Football. Basketball. The Longhorns.
What did you say? The Longhorns. Open and say awesome.
It's gonna be a
Wait, can I have that one, sir?
Bevo. Bevo the Longhorn. Well, you know what? There's been many Bevos. So they have a Bevo as long as he lives. And then when that Bevo passes or gets old, they get a new one.
So they're replacing
They replace Bevos.
It's not really.
Well, it's Bevo, but there's been like 8 Bevos in the history. So, this one, have you ever been out to Circuit of the Americas, the racetrack? Okay. The tower. This is the tower at Circuit of the Americas. Isn't that cool?
It looks like a water slide.
Yeah.
It's a water slide.
Well, they have this building at Circuit of the Americas, and it sort of has this tail design, yeah? It's a tower.
Wait, isn't the tower where like it has like a ramp like this all the way up?
Well, it could be like that. Not this one, but they can do things like that. So,
That's a slide. I was
great. All right. I have some giveaways, so should we do that?
Hey, guys, any last questions?
Anything else that you'd like to know about this business or how it's done or
Do you have
any
a
other?
heart one?
Sorry?
Do you have a heart one?
Oh, heart one.